Our word, our word for the day is malleable. The definition of malleable is to, oh no, I can't see the close up, is able to be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking, or easily influenceable or pliable. So you can use this word in any of those ways or any creative ways that you come up with. So I will encourage you to be malleable in the meeting today, and I will be looking for filler words, ums and ahs, growls and barks, and I will be on the lookout for interesting words today.
Please, yes. Great. You know, in all my years of Toastmasters, I don't believe I've ever been participating in a meeting where malleable has been the word, and I really like that. It's a very usable word, and I appreciate that. I want to recognize some faces that we haven't seen for a while. Jack Wynn is here twice. I'm assuming that one of them is Lucy, and we will see her name changed at some point, or I'll change it as soon as I find out which is which. Anita's here. We missed her, I believe, well, maybe not, but anyway, good to see you, Anita. And here, excellent. Now, I will say that for Jack, I'll say Lucy, Mahir, Anita, since we hadn't heard from you, you don't have any assignments for this meeting. One of you, if one of you would volunteer to be the even numbered table topics evaluator, that would be helpful. Anybody want to jump in there and do that?
Yeah, I can try this, Jerry.
You will be fine, Jack. You always are. And Mark, I am sure, is taking note of who is not assigned a role. And so you can expect that Mark will undoubtedly be directing an impromptu question toward you. A couple of other items. We have our this coming up in December. We have two meetings, of course, and one of those is on Christmas Day. And for some of us, that's a holiday of family and getting together. I sent out a request for information, or a request for your participation on December the 25th. We will do our best to have some type of meeting. I will attend, but it may change form if we are very light on attendance. We'll come up with something, but it will be of great value to know who can be present. So answer the email. I want to give a special note to both Patty and Mark, who have already responded to that email. Kudos to the both of you for being so quick and so malleable. Very good. Let me see. Looking down, I would like for officers, could we have an officers meeting, the first meeting in December, which would be our next meeting? And how does that work for any of you officers that are online right now? Any objections? Mahir says thumbs up.
Good for me.
Okay, so I'll send out a notice on that. And if I have some ideas. I think we need to talk about scheduling. We need to talk about the kinds of meetings, expanding membership. But we just need to touch base. And I would appreciate any of you, any member, sending in some suggestions or topics that can be covered. And do remember that you do not have to be an officer to attend the officer meeting. So the more we have participating, the better. Let's see. I'm admitting somebody. TMC Zoom. We'll see who that is in just a second. So I believe I really covered two things there, officers meeting, and that I have sent out a request for participation, and Abhishek and I will be working with that. Abhishek has been working very hard to try to put things together, but as anyone who's ever been an educational vice president knows, cooperation from the membership really, really helps. Anything else? Looking down, we have the language facilitator checking up. My agenda says it's time to have our warm-up facilitator. I'm going to call on Jan for that, and remember, all of us, the goal is to have a quick response that tells the others something about yourself. And I believe that our timer will be showing us a red light at 30 seconds, and try to wrap it up there. I'll do a formal introduction of the timer later. So Jan, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. And I am the warm-up person, and I decided to follow the format of today and maybe do it in a little debate format. What are the pros and cons of the Thanksgiving holiday? What do you like and or not like about the holiday? And I would like to call on Jennifer.
Well, in the US on Thursday, we celebrated the Thanksgiving holiday. And what I like about holidays is I can choose whether or not to participate. And this year I decided not to participate. And my husband and I had a nice quiet dinner at home. There are some traditional foods that we both enjoy, like a green bean casserole and baked potato and cranberry sauce. So we made that part of our meal. And that was our Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'd like to call on Mark next. What do you see as the advantages, the pros and cons of the Thanksgiving holiday?
Thank you, Jan. This is a simple question for me. The advantages of the Thanksgiving holiday is that I get to eat as much roast turkey as I like. I like roast turkey. I can eat a lot. I do. The disadvantage of the Thanksgiving holiday is that people actually put cranberries in front of me and think that they're edible as human food. I know better. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Debs, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving in England, but can you just, from your perspective, tell us what do you think is good or bad about having a holiday for Thanksgiving?
I think having a holiday for Thanksgiving is a really lovely idea. I've never really understood or known precisely what it involves because of being in the UK, but I really like turkey, like Mark as well, and I can eat loads of it. I wish we had a Thanksgiving Day in the UK. Maybe one year we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Paul, what is your answer to that question?
We had two Thanksgivings, one for my wife's family and another one with friends. All the great food that you talked about is wonderful. The downside, I think, is our Native American population is not fond of Thanksgiving because the people who came to this country spread smallpox and really like to eliminate the Native American population. So there's a big movement in this country by Native Americans to change the tone of Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Paul, for that interesting answer. And Francine, you are not in America, and I don't know if you've ever thought of celebrating Thanksgiving. what do you see as the advantages or disadvantages of having a holiday such as Thanksgiving?
Thank you, John. You rightly say we don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in Africa, but I've heard about it. And I think the advantage of such a day or such a holiday is that it gives people plenty of time to remind the kind of things they can be grateful for, things, and also remind them there's always someone who is in a in a worse position than them, and they need to share with them. So for me, it's a very good idea to have such a day as a holiday. Thank you.
Okay, do we have time for more, Jerry?
Yes, we're doing well.
Okay, all right, Patty, would you like to answer your opinion on that? Just saying no? Okay, all right, Kit, do you have an opinion on the value or not
So we
value?
don't have Thanksgiving Day in the UK. We are thankful every day, and certainly every day that I get up with my new partner in my new house, which was Thanksgiving Day, I was giving thanks, and I'm very, very happy. And in celebration of that, the breakfast fairy made Deb's breakfast, the lunch fairy made Deb's breakfast lunch, which had sweet chili turkey in it.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I don't know if I've never heard of breakfast fairy. Maybe I'm going to start calling my husband that and he'll start making my breakfast.
Yeah, that seems to be how it works here.
That's how it works. Yeah, I'm going to have to find a breakfast fairy and a lunch fairy. Um, Jack, do you have an idea? Have you ever, when you were in America, did you celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yes, and it's really a good experience because as a foreigner in another country, holiday is a good reason to call in your friend, all your Chinese friend, to stay together and eat turkey. And also, we eat traditional Chinese food, 饺子, during the Thanksgiving. So I really appreciate the day. So it is a good time. I think it is a good reason for people to get together. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Jerry, on time?
I was just about to type you a message. Our target is 8:18 by our time.
Okay,
And
we have a
so
Yeah,
lot of time left. Okay.
you're
So,
good.
4 minutes.
Mihir, would you like to share your perspectives of the good or the bad of having a holiday like Thanksgiving? And have you ever celebrated it if you were in America?
Yeah, so I have never celebrated Thanksgiving, although I really like that, we should be grateful not only on just one day. I think we should be grateful for being alive and for being born at this time where we have so much opportunities. We have so much technology and science is also flourishing. And one, I would not say bad thing, but yeah, there is like many people do call do call the do call Native Americans as Indians, but actually Christopher Columbus was trying to find the route to India, so he called them Indians, though they are Native Americans and we are Indians.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's a great point of history. Thanks for bringing that up. Debs, I called on you already, I believe, right? Okay, Jerry. Jerry.
Anita's there. Well, and I'll give my response.
Okay.
Of course, just enjoy the whole concept of thankful. I'm with Kit in the idea of trying to be thankful every day. I was particularly thankful this year. We were able to meet where I had all four children, all of the sons-in-laws, all five grandchildren, all of us were together in one place for the first time in at least 2 years. So that was a particularly positive experience. And for Mark, my son makes a cranberry salad made with orange zest, grated pecans, and pomegranate. And I think you might like that one. Back to you, Jan.
That sounds really good. I love cranberries. I couldn't eat turkey without it. So I'm not like Mark. Haritosh, thanks for joining us. The question is, what do you see as the pros and cons of the Thanksgiving holiday? What do you like or not like about such a holiday? And have you ever celebrated it if you were in America at that time?
All right, that's too many questions for 20-second response. So I'll be quick. I like the concept as others. I do find that we need to have one day specifically for Thanksgiving because we need to be grateful. And in the run of life and everything that's going around, we don't get that. Ideally, we should do that. What I don't like about is that no, the poor turkeys which get sacrificed during that day. I being a vegetarian, I have my sympathies with the animals. So I don't think that's their fault that somebody else is thankful. So maybe we should be mindful about that.
Okay, very good. And Anitha, we have a minute left. Would you like to share your ideas on Thanksgiving? Anitha, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Give me a minute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any idea for Thanksgiving? Well, we don't really celebrate that here, but let me say that I think we should be thankful every day with this challenging time that we're going through. So yeah, let's say it's Thanksgiving every day for just being here and yeah.
Thank you for that. And I would say I love Thanksgiving, get together with people you don't see very often. This year we had it with our neighbors, which is the first for with the neighbors we were with. And the disadvantages for me is the cleanup afterwards and the calories and the leftovers. How many days can you eat leftover turkey? My husband says, one, and I think we have enough turkey left over for at least more than that, a week maybe. But anyway, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Jerry, and we're going to continue the debate theme for the day, our meeting.
Excellent. I enjoy the way we were all able to share something about our personal experiences, and just sort of following up quickly on Haritos's comment about vegetarian. One of us who is very malleable sent out a little cartoon saying that the most thankful people are that the turkeys on Thanksgiving Day were thankful for vegetarians. And that was an excellent point. So back to our something that more or less reflects our normal meeting. Let's go to our general evaluator, who is going to today be Mark.
Thank you, Jerry. Fellow Toastmasters, I will do what I normally do, I guess, as general evaluator. I'll mention the things that I particularly like and the things where I personally believe we can improve. This meeting will be unusual in that we're doing a debate for the first time, so we can expect it reasonably to be a learning experience. Let's see how it goes. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Our timer has been on the ball today already. I know she even has kept track of when we need to be on schedule. And so let Francine elaborate on her role as timer.
Thank you, Jerry. My role today as a timer is to keep one another alert of your usage of the time. Today is a special meeting, a debate, and for the debate, each speaker, the protein, be it the protein or the content, will be allowed 3 minutes with a grace period of 30 seconds to make his or her point. At 2 minutes, I will flash the green card like this. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will flash the yellow card, and 3 minutes, I'll flash the red until 3 minutes and 30 seconds where you need to stop speaking. Over to you, Jerry.
Thank you. Very well. It's presented. The idea of debate. This is something that I know is very dear to Abhishek's heart, and something he was really pressing to do. So it's too bad that a family issue has prevented him from being here with us. But why do we have debate? I guess we could say a debate is formalized discussion. We do debate in certain ways when we hash things out, as we might say here, or go back and forth on an issue with friends or a spouse or other individuals. But sometimes we get carried away. So the idea of a debate is to have focused discussion in a formal manner. This will not be a highly structured debate. There are different forms of debate. We won't go into that now. But the principal idea is that there will be typically in advance a point to be discussed. All involved know in advance what that will be. Typically, when debate teams are formed, they will be formed for a season, much like basketball teams or any other type of team. They will know and they will all prepare for the topic for that year. When the debate begins, two teams come together to compete. They'll actually decide about 30 minutes to an hour ahead of time which team argues for the proposition, which team argues against the proposition. They'll have 30 minutes to an hour then to organize themselves to reflect whatever side they've been by chance assigned to. We didn't do that. We gave our individuals an opportunity to know somewhat in advance the points they would be discussing. Once the debate begins, they take turns presenting their points. The way we've done it today is that there will be each side, the pro or for side and the con or against side. The speaker will have 3 minutes to state their team's positions. Then we'll have a second round in which each team will have a speaker who will do their best to address the points made by the first team. So it isn't necessarily designed to continue your own argument, but to try and point out possible flaws or so forth that from your perspective in the other side. A third round then is the wrap up. Somebody will try to take everything and put it together and say, remember, here are our strengths, here are the other team's weaknesses. We urge you to agree with us. This debate will take that format. We will take the feedback that we receive and we will have another debate, probably in my mind, not until February sometime, because I think we need to get back to a more traditional types of give and take in a Toastmasters meeting where we, well, anyway, we're going to have a second debate in the future based on the feedback that we get from this one. Are there any questions from anyone about the idea of debate? We're not going to be very malleable on changing the form here. Thank you, Patty. I see you marking that down. And so are there any questions seriously on any point?
Jerry, are you going to outline like voting at the end, the basis of that, what it is that, right, okay.
Thank you. That's a good point to make. I wouldn't have thought to say that until I got to that in the agenda. We have voting, and Haritaj, correct me if I'm saying it differently, but we'll have voting first for, I called it the most effective team. So who do we feel, which team do we feel did the best job of being pro or con? Then we'll ask for a vote for I believe, Haritosh, I asked you just the best debater overall, correct?
Right. So we have 3 polls today. One is most effective team, one is most effective debater, and then we'll have one for best table topics.
Very good. So we'll take those votes immediately following the finish of the last debater. Any other questions? And did that answer your question, Kip? Great. All right. So let the great debate begin. Our premise resolved: the global use of disposable plastic bags should be eliminated by the year 2030. And our first pro speaker on that proposition will be Haritosh. Take it away. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. In the epic Mahabharata, there was a character called Aswathama, who was given a curse to live forever. I say it curse because he fought hard. He had been bleeding and he was feeble, but he is there forever as per the epic. Now, plastic, I would say, is the Aswathama of today's age. Why I say so? Because plastic takes anywhere between 20 to 500 years. Imagine 500 years to decompose, depending on the material and structure. Now, if we do not start restricting the use of it, imagine what it will become. Now, I'm going to give you some more statistics for you to understand the implication of this. In 1950, there was less than 1 ton of plastic produced. In 2015, it's over 380 millions worldwide. More than 480 billion plastic bottles were sold alone in 2016, and it's going up ever since. About 1 trillion single-use plastic bags are being used across the globe, which is roughly 2 million every single minute. More than 1 billion plastic straws are used every day around the world. Now imagine if all of that is not being decomposed and being collected at one place, what sort of garbage it will become, what kind of hazard it will bring to our health, to our environment, to our culture, to our oceans. So if we don't start restricting disposable plastic bag uses, it's going to be a chaos, a big chaos. And that is why we say that we need to resolve disposable plastic bag by 2013. This has to be eliminated. Now, why specifically 2013? Because it's 9 years from now, which gives us enough time to plan, execute, and actually do that. Remember, Brexit happened for people in UK, Brexit happened in a matter of 3-4 years. That was such a big thing. So having 9 years is more than sufficient for any developed or developing country to plan. And there are already so many alternatives out there for instead of using plastic that you can use. And we won't probably get into there. But I think this is a serious matter, a really serious matter, which affects you, which affects me, and which affects our next generation. We need to do something right now. Over to you.
Thank you very much, speaker number 1. So there we have it. We have the views of the pro team as to the value of eliminating plastic bags by the year 2030. It is now time to hear the contrarian view. And for that, I am going to call on, I believe, Kit. Is that correct? Kit, let's hear your team's point of view.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you, Haritosh. I don't think any of us think that the impact that we're having on the world is entirely positive, and that we do need to do something to improve our impact on the environment. However, what Haritosh has done is talked about things that take hundreds of thousands of years to decompose. Most things do. China does, metal does. Indeed, a waste tip was excavated in Pennsylvania, and it was 70 years old, this landfill, and it had readable newspapers and an edible hot dog in it. So, things do take a long time to break down. What Haritosh talked about was plastic. The motion is about single-use or disposable plastic bags. So the question we should be looking at is, would eliminating single-use plastic bags be a good thing or a bad thing? And being me, I'm going to look at this. The case for plastic bags. The total plastic waste that these are from the US. Plastic bags, all plastic bags are only about 10% of the use of plastic. And of those, only a tiny fraction, I couldn't get some exact figures, about a quarter, between a tenth and 2/10, are single-use plastic bags. So removing single-use plastic bags out of this has a tiny impact. And indeed, if we're looking at total waste going into landfill, single-use plastic bags are a fraction of a percent of that total waste. And the reason for including in this food waste is that good use of plastic can decrease food waste. And food waste, while it may decompose, production of food that is not consumed has a massive impact on the environment, the energy that goes into it, the resources that goes into it. In the UK, a few years ago, there was legislation that attempted to reduce the use of reusable single-use plastic bags. In 2019, 1.5 billion reusable plastic bags were used. That's 54 per household. The consequence of making people pay 5p or now 10p, that's about 10 cents, for a single-use plastic bag has encouraged people to use 54 per household. Plastic bag consumption, the total amount of plastic, has gone up as a result of just discouraging people from single-use bags. Plastic bags also use up a huge amount of energy. What we need to be doing is looking at the big picture and reducing our plastic consumption, and this is the wrong target. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Interesting, thought-provoking. Appreciate that. Well, as I articulated earlier, the second round, the goal is to try to go back and address some of the points raised by the other team in the first round. Our speaker in this position for the pro team is Paul Richard. Paul, take it away.
Kit, I appreciate your statistics. However, we need to start somewhere. The overall bigger problem that you did not mention is the whole extraction economy. Taking things from the ground, taking materials from the ground, making them into something, whether it be plastic bags or not, and throwing them away. There is, for example, here in the United States, a grocery chain that requires tote bags, no plastic. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, plastic is as big as the state of Rhode Island here in the US, floating around. And it's estimated that it would take 87 cargo ships, well equipped, per year to remove 1% of those plastics in the ocean. There's also the same thing in the Atlantic and in the Indian Ocean as well. We have to start somewhere. And I think plastics might be the easiest way to start. Next would be the petroleum industry. And next would be the whole extraction conglomerate. Plastic bags are everywhere. You see them in trees. Oh my gosh, floating around in trees. I like your point about it's a small piece, but we do need to start somewhere to get to the bigger issues. Back to you, Jerry.
Very good. Interesting counterpoints. I feel like I'm a chief judge at a contest where I'm not supposed to comment on the presentations. It's difficult not to do so. But thank you very much, Paul. Now let's hear from Debs about as to how their team views the pro side's positions. Debs, you are on.
Global use of disposable plastic bags should be eliminated by 2030. What a preposterous idea. Honestly, I've heard the arguments from the pro team, and I have to say that I have real reservations. I mean, Haritos talked about the story about living forever, and I do understand that to a certain extent, but really the situation with our environment at the moment, plastics and eliminating plastics only accounts for 2% of the problems that we face across the world, and I think there are bigger issues. After all, plastic bags, disposable, means single use only, not bags for life. And if you think about creating bags for life, for example, that takes far more energy and the plastic is far thicker than creating just a single use disposable bag. So therefore more energy is entailed in creating bags for life than just disposable bags. And also what happens if somebody's shopping and they forget to take their bag with them and they're carrying loads of stuff, they're likely to drop something, break it, and then have to pick up another item. Thus, so much waste being involved in that respect. I think people and individuals need to be nudged in terms of their understanding. In other words, they don't need to be legislated at, there doesn't need to be law, they need to be pushed gently in order to have a new understanding about reusing and recycling into the future. And I actually think that if we only concentrate on elimination of plastics by 2030, we're unlikely to get to 2030 with the serious situation of our global environment. And there are bigger issues to think about. And think about the backlash that we get from people if we legislate and make laws such as withdrawing plastics and taking plastics out of the ocean. Yes, that's a good thing. I understand that sea life die and whales and great beautiful things in the oceans get destroyed by plastics, but really I think we have Laurel and Hardy even making a contribution to the argument. Thank you very much. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Debs. Interesting points again. All of you are doing an excellent job of presenting your views. Now it's time for our wrap-up positions. We've heard some pros we've heard the positions of both sides. We've heard some counter arguments from both sides, and it's now time to wrap things up. And I'm calling on, I believe, is it Haritosh who's doing the closing argument? If so, take it
I
away.
guess it's Paul, right?
Oh, is it Paul? All right. Paul, I didn't make very good notes. Closing arguments, young man.
Thank you, Jerry. This has been a very interesting session. My idea is that, take for example, the meetings we just had about the environment, and lots of countries made promises. I don't see a lot of action as yet. That is the overall picture. Again, plastic bags are a start. When you go into a grocery store, use a plastic bag, how long do you use it for? I don't know, you throw it away in the garbage when you get home. That's not a good thing. We can eliminate that. Regarding the other bigger things that Kit mentioned, that's a long-term project. Getting rid of petroleum, going to wind power and solar power, very, very long-term. And it'll take monumental movement by many, many countries to get that even started. There is so much petrochemical waste in our environment. I could see us killing ourselves with that stuff, overwhelming ourselves with that stuff. To start with, buy a tote bag made of cloth. Use it over and over again. Do your little job to get rid of your use of plastic bags. And as I said, as Kit noticed, it's only a start, but you have to start somewhere to get to the goal line. That's what I believe the whole debate was about. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you. Nice to hear from the pro team. The contrarian team. Kit, I believe you are doing the closing discussion on your side.
Indeed I am. Thank you, Jerry. Reducing our impact on the environment is a complete no-brainer. The question isn't, should we reduce our impact on the environment? The question is, should we take a single action or focus on a single action of removing single-use plastic bags, and is that the best way to move towards reducing our impact on the environment? Studies have shown, UK studies have shown that even not banning them, but just making single-use plastic bags purchasable items, that is not free at supermarkets, the impact of that in the UK has increased plastic consumption, not decreased it. So Paul said, we've got to start somewhere. Well, if we start going in the wrong direction, that is not a way to move forward. And studies have shown it increases plastic consumption. In addition, people might think themselves virtuous that they are not using plastic bags. But actually, the same study showed that the best way to reduce plastic consumption from shopping bags is to reuse single-use plastic bags. That by reusing them and then recycling them, they don't go into landfill, they don't go into the environment, into the sea, and that is the way to have minimum plastic consumption use. These are proper studies. A tote bag, you might think it is a good thing, but actually, an organic tote bag, according to a study in 2018, has to be used 20,000 times to have less impact than a plastic bag. So it might look like it's environmentally friendly, but the environmental impact of growing the materials and processing those materials, bleaching them, the bleach going into watercourses, a fabric bag is not the environmentally friendly answer you might think it is. The environmentally friendly answer is to reduce the plastic that we use, to reuse that plastic, to recycle that plastic. The focus should be on the big picture, and the way to work towards that big picture is not to have this false totem of a single bad, the bad guy is the single-use plastic bag. This is nonsense. It's the wrong target at the wrong time, and it encourages people to think that they're doing good, and in fact, they're not. Look at the big picture and work as a first step in the correct direction, not the wrong direction. Jerry.
Thank you. Well, I think all of our participants did a great job, and yes, do give them a hand. I think they deserve it. Excellent. Well, Francine was right on there taking times. I believe they all did pretty well, but Francine, will you give us the official times?
Thank you, Jerry. This is my report. For the first round, the pro team, represented by Aritosh, spent 3 minutes and 5 seconds making his point. Then came the con team with Keith, who spent 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Then for the second round, we had the pro team represented by Paul Richard, who spent 1 minute 59 seconds. Then Debs for the con team, who spent 3 minutes and 3 seconds. And for the final round of arguments, we had the pro team, Paul Richard, who spent 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And finally, for the con team, Keith, who spent 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Francine. Let's take our first vote here, and that will be, I believe, on the team which we feel was most effective in making their points. And I believe Haritosh will have that up shortly.
Could I suggest you like instruct the pro and con team not to vote? Or I'm not going to vote for the other team.
Why not?
That's fine. That's fine.
Too late for me.
Well, if we both vote for the other team, it cancels each other out, doesn't it?
Let's
fine.
Let's not complicate things. I'm going to trust in the veracity and the honorable intent of all of our members. And who knows, maybe one of you thinks the other team did better. I don't know. Haritosh, throw up that ballot.
It's already there.
Oh, well, that's right. I can't see it because I'm a host.
You are the host, yeah.
I'll send you my vote privately.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah. All right. Do you want to start the second poll as well?
Sure, go ahead. The second vote, as you will see, will be the debater that we feel was most effective overall.
Okay, we have all the results.
All right, and I've submitted my votes. Excellent. Well, excuse me. It falls on me to go back and offer some comments on each of the stages of the debate, since
Excuse me,
Abhishek
Jerry. There's a note from Jack in chat.
Yeah, I think Jack it was on Zoom poll, but you can DM me or send me a private chat, and I can include that in the count.
Yeah, for some reason your screen must not have shown it, Jack.
Yeah,
Just-
I cannot see it, but I can send it privately to Heritage. Okay.
Very good. So most effective team and most effective debater. Well, I'll comment first on the teams as they presented their points. I think, and keep in mind here, there really is, in my mind, quite a variety of flexibility. Is that, I don't know if that's redundant or not, but whatever. There are many, many ways in which each team could have approached this. And particularly when we have a relatively constrained time frame. Both sides, I think, did a good job of raising their points. I like the way Paul not only raised the points in favor of his position, but he also took a stab at, in advance, undercutting some of the arguments that might be made from the opposite side. So not only did he state his points, but he did try to, I think, head off some of the contrarian points that could be raised. I think in the opening arguments for the the con team, the specifics were the thing that impressed me there. I thought that Kit did a nice job using particularly the visuals, but even without the visuals, some interesting data. I was particularly intrigued by the data point about charging for disposable bags, raising their use. Moving to the second half then, as to pointing out weaknesses in the other team's position. Both of you did take a shot at that. And I thought to varying degrees, you were successful. This, to me, if I were debating, would be the most difficult portion because you don't know what's coming up in the first round. You have to think quickly and come up. And I think each of you did do that. You were, I had a note here. Oh, Paul did not allow himself to be, or his team to be pinned down. And I thought Deb's energy was particularly effective. And what's the word? I should be a doctor. I can't read my own writing. Oh, I like the way Deb brought up consequences of adopting the proposal. Very good there. Then when we move to our closing arguments, both sides, I think, had strong closing arguments. I liked the call to action that was I think the call to action was the strongest on the pro team from my perspective. I think the con team did a nice job at essentially accepting the premise of let's reduce plastic bags, but then re-raising their points about the consequences and some of the things that might occur. So overall, I thought as a first round attempt of our group to have a basic demonstration debate, we handled it pretty well. And those are my comments. I'd like to see if I'm going to allow just a minute or two for very brief comments from any of you as to what you saw were strengths or weaknesses on either side.
Jerry, I can say something.
Sure.
Yes, and I think this is a wonderful debate, and both sides we can see Heritage and Debs and Kit use some like data to support your ideas, and especially Kit, I think you leave me a good impression because your words are very like convincing. You know, you give us a lot of like a golden sentence, like uh, it is a round target. Look at the big picture, and you know some of these things that convince you. Yeah, yes, he's correct. I think it is very good, and also Debs. When she debate, she used her passions. You know, I think the judges can feel. Yeah, she really worry about this condition, and I was convinced by her. So also the secret is I vote the best for her. Okay, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Excellent points, Jack, really. Anyone else? Opening for one more person that might like to offer their views. Well, I see Francine over there. Francine?
Yes, yes, thank you, Jerry. I really appreciate the whole debate, and I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I'm naturally part of the con team. I don't believe that we should completely eliminate single use plastic bag, but I found the way the con team defend their point very powerful, especially with the use of the visuals, um, the statistics, and bringing us regularly to the fact that studies have shown this, studies have shown that, so on and so forth. And I also like the fact that to conclude, they didn't say that the other team was wrong, but they kind of bring a nuance to their point to say that okay, this is valuable, this is true, but it's better to do this way. So I like that, and I think both teams presented very valuable and interesting arguments. But naturally, I'm part of the con team. Thank you.
Very good. Well, I want to compliment all of us because we are essentially on time, maybe 1 minute off. And it's time now to perhaps continue this discussion a bit, but really to move over to more of the traditional impromptu type discussions. Reminding everyone right now that our odd numbered table topics evaluator will be Jennifer, and our even numbered table topics evaluator will be Jack. And we are back to our usual impromptu 2-minute format for presentation. Mark, it's over to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Fellow Toastmasters, our impromptus will be a little different today in that we will talk about the debate. And instead of casting odium on the horrible character of the individuals with whom you must disagree at some point, we will talk instead about the points they made or didn't make, the things you liked and didn't like. That's pretty obvious if I think we all understood that. And I'm going to start with Patty. Patty, are you ready?
I am unmuted.
What argument did you hear that you particularly liked, and why, of course?
Thank you, Mark, Mr. Table Topics Master. Although I really enjoyed the way Haritosh opened up his argument with passion, with story, and facts, I really appreciated Kit's argument. First of all, because he informed me about things I did not know. And I love charts. It's always good to see that visual of charts one way or another. And I think it's particularly interesting that the psychology of charging people for something increased its use. I have to charge more. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Patty. Let's see, getting my evaluators lined up properly. I will ask Jennifer, who I believe is evaluating odd. I'm going to ask you an even question. What didn't you hear that you think you should have heard?
I don't think I'm too inept in thinking what I didn't hear, but I will share a little bit more on what I wish was expanded on. I do tend to be on trying to eliminate plastic bags, but was malleable enough today to hear Kit's side, in which he did touch on a little bit about energy and other one-use plastics. And I would have liked to know more about, we often, our mind goes to plastic bags, but there are many one-use plastics that we simply toss, and those come into packaging. So as I am speaking out loud, I realize I would have liked to learn more perhaps about other one-use type of plastics that we tend to just nonchalantly toss without a thought to where that might be going. In the con part, I also appreciated the thought and the use of reduce, reuse, and recycle, as that is something that came up very early in my learnings in the 70s, and it really drew my attention in. So I would, again, just summarize that I would have perhaps liked to learn more about other one use to maybe be persuaded one way or the other.
Thank you,
Table
Jennifer.
Topics Master.
Jan, I've got one for you that's probably not right up your alley, but there it is anyway. Both teams missed the key word in the topic, which was global. There is no global we. What problem would you have the global we address universally before we addressed plastic bags, if we had a global we, and we don't?
Thank you for that very interesting topic question, Mark. And that's a kind of hard one to answer in terms of the environment. I know that the Paris climate change are trying to reduce the CO2 levels and eliminate the use of coal around the world, and that's a start. I want to take, what didn't I hear? That question you gave to Jennifer. I was thinking that maybe they should have spent more time talking about the impact on animals in the environment and ocean animals and animals the plastic bags have on them. I went to a hospital in Florida where they did operations on sea turtles, and they removed a lot of junk out of their stomachs, including plastic bags. And so that's a pro reason not to have, single use bags. But then think of all the bears you've seen with their heads stuck in buckets, plastic buckets. Just because some bears get their heads stuck in plastic buckets, should we eliminate all the plastic buckets in the world? I mean, that's a kind of a silly, humorous response to this kind of thing. But I thought looking at the animals and the impact that what we do to them environmentally would have been something they might have been able to add to their pro and con arguments why or not to use those bags in the future.
Thank you, Jan. Jack, let's see, you're doing even and I've lost track. This would be even, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I can evaluate myself, right?
I'll get you next.
No.
I'll get you next. I'll go to Anita for this one. Anita, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Not quite.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please speak up loudly because I can hear you only differently. Imagine you were on a planet in which there was a world government that could actually institute a ban on plastics. Is that what you would do, or would you do something more important first? What would that be?
Yeah, I think I will definitely start with the plastic because I became an anti-plastics uh, years ago when I found out all the junks and all this poisoning component they have in them. So I'm the kind of person who would always look at the number on in the little triangle on these plastic contents, if it's a 1, 2, 5, whatever the number was. But I just knew that if it was 2, 5, or 7, they're safe. So yeah, that is definitely one of the first thing I would start doing, because it's endangering not only ourselves as human, but also all of our environment and the nature and everything. I think Jan just talked about all of these junks we can find in animals, and I don't know, we're supposed to be the smartest race on Earth, so I it doesn't really show when it comes to our use of plastics. So yeah, if there was that government, I'll start with that.
I'm sure the advocates for abolishing nuclear weapons, murder, and illegal drugs are disappointed to hear that, but we have heard it from you. Now, Jack, now I'll have you, by golly, I've got a good one for you.
Okay.
What would be a good topic in your mind for our next debate?
Wow. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, it is a good question. The my question is should be about love, you know. Maybe if you know your best friend is betrayed to his wife, will you tell the wife? Okay, it is a hard choice. And first, like you want to be an honest person, you will like tell the wife. If you want to be a good friend, you should keep the secret. So yeah, maybe it is a question we can debate. Yes.
You could hear the eyes rolling on that one. Okay, thank you, Jack. We have lost Mahir, have we not?
Mahir is not here. I think he had to go.
And as far as timing goes, I think we may have time for one more. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 1 minute left.
Jerry, restrain yourself to 1 minute. To replace disposable plastic bags, you have invented the cast iron shopping bag. Please describe its virtues.
The virtues, thank you, of the cast iron shopping bag. I would say it will be the energy saving, budget saving invention of the century. It will be too heavy to carry. It will be too non-malleable to open. And that means there'll be a lot less shopping of all kinds. So that would be its major virtue. Of course, what it would do to the economy is an entirely different issue. Cast iron shopping bags, I have to give you credit for the most interesting question of the day. Back to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Although, as I point out visibly, you missed one of the benefits.
Yes,
Well, Masters,
exercise.
that's the impromptu session. Francine, have you timing report for us?
Yes, I do. The first speaker, Patty, spent 50 seconds. Then Jennifer spent 1 minute 20 seconds. Then John, number 3, spent 1 minute 33 seconds. Number 4, Anita, she spent 1 minute 19 seconds. Jack, number 5, he spent 42 seconds. And last, Jerry, number 6, spent 55 seconds.
Major victory for Jerry.
Surprised everybody, I think.
Yes. Well, Mark, thank you very much. We have our times, and now Haritosh will put up the opportunity to vote, and Jack and I will send our votes in directly to Haritosh.
And it's already up. All right. I see all the 9 people voted. So, Jack, were you able to vote? Awesome. So, Cherry, you can send it to me, and I think
I
it'll be
believe
okay.
I did, unless I sent it to the wrong person.
No,
I
you
sent
did.
it
Yeah.
through.
Thank you.
Very good. Time for some feedback on our impromptu presentations. And Jennifer, the odd numbered evaluator, take it away.
Hello, Toastmasters. I am here to provide some feedback for our odd responses for Patty, Jan, and Jack. Patty, you were the first one to respond today. And what it really invites me in about you is just your overall compassionate nature, and your pace just really brings me in each time you speak. I might challenge you to think a little bit more about gesture use while you're speaking. And then also, in the contrast to your compassionate nature, I might challenge you to throw some passion somewhere in your speaking that just draws our attention back. But I do appreciate the way that you work through an impromptu topic and how you summarize at the end. Jan, I want to say that you two have a very inviting nature when you speak, and you went through and you had some questions in the midst of your response. And for more impact, I might challenge you that when you are speaking, especially impromptu, to consider putting some of those questions at the end to invite the listener to think about what you're saying a little bit more after you leave. But I enjoyed it, and you take us through a very, very thoughtful expanse as you answer impromptu. And Jack, again, each one of you had wonderful personalities. And Jack, I just encourage you to be more brave. We're impromptu, we're Toastmasters. Send out your silly responses. Don't defer them off in any way. And when you had really great gestures. And I just encourage you, especially when you're on the screen, to bring them up a little bit. But overall, I believe each one of our odd responses were perfect.
Jack, take it away. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. So I will evaluate Jennifer, Anita, and Jerry. Right. Okay. And my it's hard for me to do this because some of the words I don't understand. So I will guess. Okay, what does she or he talking? Sorry for that, but I will try my best. And I think Jennifer, your response is quick, and also it's harder to like say something that they didn't mention, and your voice or your expression is very nice, and you just give it a good point, then you like say the things you didn't hear. I think I like the way you saying, and also your tone is good. I can learn from you, and also you make others feel comfortable, and I think it's good. And Nathan, at the beginning of the sentence, you just give your sentence directly. You will start the band, and then you explain the reason. I think it is a good structure. And also, one advice, like maybe next time you are not convenient, Maybe next time you can open your camera and we can see your faces. Face, I think it's better. Okay. And next person is Jerry, and this question is like, you know, it's a hard one, and also I like your ideas about like why it is good. Yeah, and also the when you're speaking, the environment is friendly and always smiling. So I like it. Yeah, that's all in all. Good job, everyone.
Well, thank you, everyone, and especially Jack, since he was so kind to me. If we had a best evaluator, I'd vote for Jack. Anyway, thank you for the feedback. We are now at the time when we want to look at our language facilitators report. My ear wasn't so sharp. I don't think we use the word that often, except for a couple of us. Am I incorrect?
You are not incorrect. Today we had Jerry use the word of the day 4 times. And the most impressive was during his table topic. So congratulations for that. And a big shout out to Jennifer because she used the word in the table topics, the only person to do so. I didn't think it was that hard of a word to use, but I didn't even use it. So what can I say? And I'm also going to give a shout out to Mark for using it in the chat. I don't know that I've ever counted that before, but I noticed it, so I'm putting it out there. With filler words, we did have a couple people who were using the word and ah, and Kit is the winner, or should I say loser? In that category. And of course, the other person who spoke the most, who is that, Jerry? You win on both accounts. You're the first runner up. And Francine, you only had one. But other than that, everybody kept their P's, Q's, ums, and ahs to themselves. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Very good. And I might just add that right there towards the end, you had an but who's counting?
You're sure it wasn't a
Could have been. Anyway, general evaluator report. Mark, that's up to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Fellow Toastmasters, I liked this meeting. That's my opinion. Sorry, you're stuck with it. I think we had a lot of fun today. I think we learned a fair amount. And I want to shout out to Jerry for an outstanding performance in getting us prepared so we would know how to do it. I think, Jerry, you've done a wonderful job for us. I myself am ready to pitch in. My only drawback is all of us would-be backseat debaters were kind of frustrated going, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And we didn't get a chance. Maybe next time.
Okay.
That was a well-handled warm-up. We started on time. If every meeting was like this one, I, for one, would be content, and I look forward to the next one. Over to you, Jerry.
Thank you, Mark. And I too want to compliment everyone who participated today. Everyone was right on top of their roles. They were ready when called upon. We had almost no fiddling with getting the mic on. Excellent. Thank you all. How about awards, Haritosh? Excuse me.
All right. Assuming you all believe that I am not being partial, I'm gonna present the award here. First of all, we're gonna have the award for most effective team, and yeah, I'm shameless to say, Conti won by a landslide. Yeah, I think probably it was only 1 or 2 people who voted for, yeah, and they were bribed by us, yeah. And going to the most effective debater, if you think that you voted for the best debater, you might be right, because a number of people voted. Take it. And last but not the least, best table topics. Who says that you need to be on camera to become the best table topic speaker? Because today, Anita did not come to camera, but still won. That's all from the awards corner.
That's great. Well, thank you all very much. Now, we do have a couple minutes, so I do want to ask a couple things about the format of the debate. Do you think we had enough time for the speakers? 3 minutes each, keeping in mind, of course, that if we stretch that, then we would have to almost certainly eliminate the impromptu session. Any thoughts on that? Kit, I see your hand first.
I think 3 minutes is very short time to kind of make a point or develop a point. I also think it's useful to have an opportunity to cross-examine. So that works better when there's more time for preparation. Clearly, cross-examining somebody who isn't an expert in the field and hasn't had time or a lot of time for preparation, it is a bit tricky. But definitely 4 minutes, I would have said, is a minimum time. So 3 minutes, it's really difficult to both pick up and address some points made by the other team and make some points yourself. Okay. And I think if we're doing some special meetings, having the entire meeting allocated to a debate wouldn't be a bad thing. You know, missing table topics, like we could get table topics at any meeting. Properly doing a debate, that here is where we should be doing that.
Okay. I saw Mark. Did I see someone else have their hand up before Mark?
Yeah, but I was first, darn it.
No, it was Haritosh.
Let's debate on that.
I'm going to call on Haritosh and then Mark. Haritosh.
No, go ahead, Mark. That's fine. Go ahead.
Mark, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'll be real quick. I agree with Kit completely. I thought impromptus were a little awkward after the debate. I think that time could have been better spent in the debate. Haritosh, your turn.
Thank you. I agree to what Kit and Mark said. I think the time for both the teams were little inadequate to say. I think, and also number of rounds should have been more, I believe. So one could be opening remarks, which could be about 3 to 4 minutes, at least not less than 3 minutes for sure. So maybe about 4:30, something like that. And then have 2 to 3 rounds, because every team wanted, and whenever Kit was speaking, I was making notes. For the record, I did had some slides, but I didn't want to put because I was not sure, because are we allowed to share some graphs or not? So I was not sure. I did had some slides going up or graphs going up, but I think we need to, I think some more ground rules to set. Can we share? Can we not? In a TV debate, we don't get to share the screen. At this place, we can share. So some more ground rules, some more time. And also, like you pointed out, some more audience question. I think there were a few very good points from audience. So if we allow 1 or 2 audience question that you can ask from the panelists, what is your views? That could actually add to, and there's no need to have table topics where you're having a heated debate. I think we can remove that and make it about 30 to 45 minutes debate to be more fruitful.
Okay.
So a few thoughts. Yeah.
Paul, I think I saw your hand up.
You did, Jerry, and I agree with the more time to think things through. And the only reason I'm wondering about that is how many people in this group are going to be involved if we elongate the time, and there's no chance for them to speak unless they are in the peanut gallery speaking, as perhaps Mark suggested.
That is something I thought about, and of course that would lead up to, I did not have 3 persons per team because we didn't have that many people express a willingness to participate. So if we do have more people willing, we can stretch that out. But I think those are good points. What about the resolution? Was it malleable enough? Was it Was it something the teams
Yeah.
can use to take different perspectives?
Jerry, I have a comment.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I want to take the counterfoot of what Aritosh and Mark said about maybe canceling the impromptu feedback from the audience. I think having an impromptu feedback balance the fact that the speaker were not allowed to have much time to expound on their points during the rounds of a session, the two first rounds. So this was very well balanced by the impromptu feedback, and I actually found the impromptu feedback genius. It was a great idea, and the way Mark led this part, the question he asked were very appropriate. And I think from the question, I especially like the question when he asked someone, do you think there's an argument, a point that hasn't been mentioned during the debate that you would like to share with us? I really like that one. It allows the audience to participate on the debate. And because of the time allotted to the table topics, we can control the time the person will spend on making a new point. So for me, really, the way it's structured now is very good. Maybe we can add 1 minute to the speakers, but having that impromptu feedback to allow the audience to chip in is very good idea. I liked it. That was my feedback on it.
And I will say too, I saw the pros and cons, I think, but I liked it also that Mark was able to be sure someone who was not included or who had arrived late could indeed participate. So that's something we'll just have to toss around as we go along. One quick feedback, any quick feedback on, was the nature of the question flexible enough, malleable enough that the teams felt that they could work with it? Kit?
Yeah, I thought that question, so it's very easy to come up with a question that has a very strong one side and very difficult the other. I did think the question worked well by giving the con side somewhere to go and the pro side somewhere to go. So yeah, I did think it was a good question.
Okay, and I'll reiterate what someone asked Jack. Well, Mark was asked Jack, do you have suggestions? And so as you muse these things in the next few days, jot down any types of questions that you could suggest that we could use. And I saw Mark has his hand up, and then I want to make a couple of closing reminders.
I'll be very quick. Whatever topic we pick, I do not believe we should pick any topic which requires in-depth research, because we're not going to put the time into it for an informal Toastmasters debate. I would suggest a topic which is more opinion oriented as opposed to fact oriented, for the obvious reason it could probably also be a little bit more malleable, fun for us, because we could all get involved without having charts.
Yes.
My 2 cents. Thank you.
Good points. Good points. Well, once again, Jack, tell Lucy she was missed, and we hope to see her. I'm glad to see you showing up with us and hope to see you more often. Remember, officers, we're having an officers meeting following this meeting on December the 11th, which will be our first meeting in December, and respond to the request that Abhishek and I have out for your participation over the next, hopefully at least 4 meetings, but certainly about December the 25th, since that's going to be such a difficult meeting for, not a difficult meeting, but a conflicting meeting for several of us. So unless there's anything else for the good of the club, I'm going to say job well done. We're only 1 minute behind schedule. And as far as I'm concerned, we finished on time. Meeting adjourned. Now it's going to
Thanks.
stay open